Hello everyone, I wanted to make a quick video about leveling up with Blade Vortex. I made a new shadow for this. This one's not gonna do too much here, but basically Blade Vortex is insanely good for getting through the story progression really quick, completing all the difficulties and getting into mapping. And this can be done by scaling it in a way that allows it to basically one-shot pretty much everything except uniques and rares with just one stack up, meaning you can just breeze through everything and not even worry about the packs you're hitting. You just run past everything and it dies along the way. Um, to set this up, you're going to need a few things. Some of them are kind of optional, like you can see that I have a tabula rasa here. So obviously you wouldn't get this if you were using this as a league starter, but I'm just going to assume or explain it as if it were for like just making a new character, like you already have a little bit of currency and you can buy all the uniques that really speed this up. The tabula rasa obviously being the most expensive, but still it is nice to have at least one of them so that you can experiment and test different combinations of skill gems. I am starting out with that, a gold rim, a wanderlust for the 20% increased movement speed and cannot be frozen, and 2 life sprigs. Aside from the tabula rasa being kind of optional, the life sprig is too, because at level 10 we're picking up something far more powerful. But for now, we're aiming for Blade Vortex, but until we hit level 12 and enter the Merveil's caverns, you have to use ethereal knives. And this is just gonna give you a little bit of, decent scaling and a little bit of tankiness. Makes it pretty easy. And then, so for leveling up, for your first couple of levels, as a shadow, you would go through all the physical damage nodes up front, and then up into the crit area. And this basically makes it so that most level ups increase your damage straight up. Completing the first difficulty, if you're playing sort of mechanically sound, then you don't really need to add any defenses, and if you don't, then this is a good chance to pick up on how to do it. Eventually your Blade Vortex is just going to deal so much damage that you rarely even feel the need to like use your flasks and stuff, but the better you are at doing that, if you keep your life flasks up, you can face down pretty much everything. There's a few exceptions along the way, and this would be the dangerous parts would be Cole in the Solaris Temple. I skip him pretty much all the time. Then there's the Rakango, the purple Rakango in Kaum's Path that has 3 tails and deals shitloads of chaos damage. That one you should skip. It'll take you out really quick. And then Dereso's kind of a bitch, and Malachi, of course, can be tricky. Because basically, don't really pick up any extra life for the first difficulty. And going through Cruel, you should pick up a little bit, but I'll sort of leave that up to you. Of course, you can pick some up earlier. I did end up... I'll just show you. So this is like the starting character. And then I showed this build to a friend and leveled up alongside him. And this is after completing the normal difficulty. You can see I did put a little bit of extra life here, and that made it basically fine. I basically died to the things I just described, except for Cole. I actually remembered to just run past him. But the Rakango, I was like, hey, I wonder if I can do this now. It's been a while since I've tried, and he just insta-killed me. And then I died once at Dereso and once at Malachi. So that's just where you run into some problems if you're mechanically not quite there yet. But let's finish this up. So when you hit level 10, you equip the Axiom Perpetuum, and you want 2 of those, and you want that juicy increased critical strike chance for spells. When you first put it on, the flat damage on it is pretty decent as well. Later on that doesn't do that much, but having 2 of these, that's like almost 280% increased critical strike chance, so you're basically hitting like 30% right away. So that's level 10. Level 12, you pick up your Blade Vortex. That's when you enter the Merveil's cavern. You go back to town, pick up your Blade Vortex, and you put supports on it. At that point, you can put increased critical strikes, and then added cold, added fire, and added lightning. And then in Act 2, you eventually replace added lightning with physical to lightning, just because that gives you a higher total lightning damage. And when you hit level 16, you can equip Face Breakers for a crazy 90% to global critical strike multiplier. You pick up the Magnate, which has 40% increased physical damage and 50% increased Flask charges gained, as well as some strength, which is really hard to get if you build this as a shadow. But pretty much any version of this build does not get to pick up a whole lot of strength, so this is really useful to have. You do want to have your Gold Rim, just because that's the single one unique that gives you the most elemental resistances, and it's going to serve you well throughout all the story progression. Rings and amulets are kind of open. You just throw whatever you can in there. This one's kind of nice for the extra life, but and since you can pick it up right away. But these are what you're going to be replacing whenever you move up in difficulty and need to work on your resists. And then finally, Nomic Storm, level 16. This is level 16, this and this. Give you up to 40% increased movement speed. So that is really crazy. And now for a quick demonstration, you should be running 2 life flasks and 2 quicksilver flask and 1 mana flask. And then eventually replace one of the quicksilvers with this. I'm taking these from my main character, so these are rolled in specific ways that are really beneficial. Getting these to roll like that's going to cost a lot of currency. If you can do it, it's amazing. If you don't want to spend the currency on it, I don't blame you. If you pick them up, they're like several chaos too. So Quicksilver has bleed immunity and surgeons, so crits give me more charges, and this one also is surgeons and has movement speed and onslaught, so combining these two is like just insane for speed. Then I should say that in Act 2 you also want to pick up all 3 heralds and just run them all as soon as you can, basically. And then you can pick up Controlled Destruction, which I didn't do. I just wanted to keep the crit chance up, but it sure as hell is good. And then when you complete Act 4, you can put Increased Area of Effect in there and Spell Echo, and basically replace your your 2 added elemental damage ones. At level 18, you want to put a power charge on critical support right in there, because you can generate power charges in other ways, but this way is really the most convenient, because it allows you to just keep going and use that one skill. I do have a golem, doesn't matter, ignore that. While you're using the maces, you use Flame Dash for mobility. I do have a totem with Blade Fall, and this is just for stuff like at certain bosses it's hard to hit them with Blade Vortex, and that allows you to just focus more on dodging and throwing your totem at them. This is really important for the lab runs, because like say if you're fighting Zaro and he's got his elemental golem thingies, or his essences, is that what they're called? Never mind. If these spawn, they try to walk towards him. When they touch him, he gets a buff. So you want to deal damage to them and kill them before they touch him. But then if you run to them with Blade Vortex as your main way of dealing damage, then Izaro will run to you, and you'll just, you know, they'll touch him even sooner. So you can plop down the totem next to them and just circle around Izaro and keep him away from them. That kind of stuff. I guess I could show the links for that. And it's one mark. Bladefall, Spell Totem, Conk Effect, and Control Destruction for just the most damage. And these are really good. They're just not as crazy for getting around fast. Alright, so let's demonstrate this. Basically, this is built so that just hitting Blade Vortex once will kill everything. And then with the crazy Flask charge generation, just pop both your flasks really fast. The only thing that takes a while to kill is like a rare or unique mob. And you basically, pretty much right from the start, obviously I have a much bigger AoE than what you'd have early on, but pretty much right from the start you kill stuff that quick. If your crit chance at the start is just like 30%, then occasionally something will survive a hit, since you're not critting all the time, but yeah, you can run through the content at the speed of your movement speed, basically, and just stop for rares and uniques a little bit. Bosses are really easy because with the right mana flask you can just stand there and pre-charge a little bit and get like your 10 stacks up or so, whatever you can, basically. And you completely trivialize most things. It's one of the most insane builds to level up with. No portal scroll. So, having done that, I should show you the skill tree. Let's load the Scion version of it. As you can see, the Scion version isn't all that different. You'd just start going through the spell damage here and lose a little bit compared to Shadow in damage right out of the gate. So Shadow is the most efficient. The other ones would just be losing a little bit early on, but eventually you get to the same points. Once you get this kind of stuff set up, you want to go up into Witch. Oh no, not this one. I want to pick up the AoE stuff. And there's more critical strikes for spells. You go down here into Templar, pick up AoE here, and get your power charge here and here, and that one extra here for spell damage. And this is basically it just for leveling. You can then proceed to pick up the increased duration to make Blade Vortex last longer. This is more for convenience, and if you're the build you're eventually transitioning to actually uses Blade Vortex, this is really good. This is also really good for a bunch of other things, especially if you're going for poison, and that's good for damage, but you don't have to. And one thing you can see here is that, you know, I'm starting at Scion, filling out the Shadow starting area, and now if I fill out Templar and Witch, you can see that you can pretty much run the exact same tree with all of them. The only difference is Templar gets more AoE and is more focused on spell damage and a little bit of elemental. Witch gets a little bit more crit and purely spell damage, and Shadow gets the most damage early, like right out of the gate. But other than that, they're pretty much the same, and they're the most convenient way I have found to level up characters. Obviously, it's great if you want to be CI or crit based, because you're basically in the entire top half of the tree. But you know, if your build's gonna be, if you don't like have to respec everything, this is just the best way I've found to level up a character quick. You can totally complete normal difficulty in like 2 to 3 hours, and you can be level 80 in 2 days, or even 1 if you're really pushing for it. Alright, so that's that. Hope you like the thing, and goodbye.